Double Trouble, a look at doppelgangers. Has anyone ever told you that someone is your doppelganger? In modern use, this means a twin stranger, anyone who looks just like you but isn't a relative. Doppelganger comes from German and means double walker. The idea of a living person's ghostly double goes back to ancient times. Ancient Egyptian, Greek, and Norse peoples all had stories about what would now be called doppelgangers. People thought seeing their doppelganger was a sign that they would soon suffer from bad luck. They were also fearful of doppelgangers because they challenged the idea of an individual self. By the 19th century, doppelgangers were also featured in new ideas about the mind. Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Jung described the idea of a doppelganger as the shadow. This is part of ourselves that we don't like and try to hide. Austrian psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud saw the doppelganger as an expression of one's unconscious. Meeting your doppelganger would be a battle between your conscious self and your hidden desires and disappointments.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to English for You. I'm Adam.
And I'm Elsie.
And Elsie, guess what? I was watching the news the other day, and it said that the Earth's population has now reached over 8 billion people.
Wow, 8 billion people. That is a lot of people.
It is. And I know, and it makes you think that if there is someone out there that looks like you.
Oh, you mean like someone who looks just like you?
Yeah, and that is actually what we're going to be talking about today, about people or something that looks just like you. So let's jump into our article, okay? Has anyone ever told you that someone is your doppelganger?
Doppelganger 这个字的意思是相貌极相似的人就是你的分身。与活人长得相似的幽灵也可以用这个字来代表。那有人告诉过你，你跟某人长得很像吗？ Has anyone ever told you that?
Well, there have been a few times people told me I look like someone, but usually when I look at that person that they say I look like, I think to myself, no, I don't look like that person.
Yeah, you were like, I'm way more handsome than that person.
All right, well, continuing on, everyone, it says, in modern use, this means a twin, stranger, anyone who looks just like you, but isn't a relative. So there we see the word twin. Twin is one of two children born to the same mother at the same time. An example we could say is, Mary has a twin sister named Jane.
Twin 这个名词呢，指的就是双胞胎之一。那为什么说是之一？因为如果是两个人，他们是双胞胎，那你要加复数的字尾 s。所以当你说，他们是双胞胎耶，你说 they are twins。那如果你说她是我的双胞胎姐妹，你可以说 she's my twin sister。那他是我的双胞胎兄弟，就会是 he's my twin brother。那 doppelganger 这个字呢，就是像你的陌生人，跟你是没有任何亲戚关系的。So where does this word come from?
Doppelganger, right? It's kind of a fun word to say, doppelganger. Well, actually, it says doppelganger comes from German and means double walker. There we see comes from something or someplace, and that is to be from something or somewhere.
也就是来自的意思。所以说这个字 doppelganger 它来自德语，那意思是 double walker， 中文会翻双重行者。
Yeah, I like that translation, double walker. But actually, everyone, the word doppelganger is not a new thing or an idea. Our article continues to tell us the idea of a living person's ghostly double goes back to ancient times. There we see goes back to something. So that is to trace or follow something back to its origin or earlier state.
go back to something 或者是 goes back to something， 那就是追溯到……那这边呢，我们还看到一个形容词跟鬼是相关的，它叫做 ghostly。好，这个形容词指的是像鬼的、幽灵似的。那在课文当中呢，用来形容 double 这个字。那 double 就是个名词咯，表示酷似的人，所以常常有这个所有格是 somebody's double， 那就表示与某人长得很酷似的人。好了，那课文就说到了这个 doppelgangers 的想法可以追溯到古代。But how far back are we talking?
That's a good question. I mean, it tells us now ancient Egyptian, Greek, and Norse peoples all had stories about what would now be called doppelgangers.
Wow, so most ancient cultures had this idea, right?
Yeah, right, yeah. I mean, today we think it's kind of cool, right? If you see some famous person and you're like, oh, that kind of looks like you or that looks like me, you have that kind of, cool idea. It makes you feel powerful or it makes you feel special or unique,
yes.
right?
那课文这边说到呢，古埃及人啦、希腊人和北欧人都有关于现在被称为这个 doppelgangers 的故事哦。那这边看到的 Egyptian 形容词指的就是埃及人的，那还有 Greek 也是形容词，指的是希腊人的，那还有一个形容词是 Norse， 指的就是古北欧人的。那这些形容词都用来形容 people 这个字，它做可数名词的时候啊，指的是某个种族啦、某个国家或某个宗教的人民或民族。
But even though now we kind of think it looks cool to have a famous doppelganger, back then, I don't think it was so,
special,
so special
or positive?
Or so special or so positive.
Oh.
It tells us people thought seeing their doppelganger was a sign that they would soon suffer from bad luck.
Really?
Exactly. And there we see everyone the word suffer. And suffer is to be badly affected by a disease, pain, sad feelings, a lack of something, etc. So an example we could say is, he suffered from a terrible headache all day.
Suffer 这个动词呢是遭受或是蒙受， suffer from something 那就是遭受或是蒙受……所苦。所以课文说到的 suffer from bad luck 那就是遭受厄运所苦。那我们也可以在后面加上一个 disease 一个疾病， suffer from a disease 那就是遭受某疾病所苦。所以人们认为呢，看到他们的 doppelganger 是一个坏运即将降临的征兆。
So just like you said, like back then, it's not a positive thing to see your doppelganger. It's almost a sign of bad luck. It continues by saying, everyone, they were also fearful of doppelgangers because they challenged the idea of an individual self. So a lot of people were fearful. And fearful is scared of somebody or something or frightened that something bad might happen. So an example going on in the news today, we could say is, the people in Ukraine are fearful of Russian attacks.
Fearful 这个形容词呢是恐惧的或是害怕的，当然你也可以用 scared 或是 frightened 来说。好，那你用 fearful 的时候呢，前面加上 be 动词 be fearful of somebody or something， 那就是恐惧、害怕某人或某事。
And also it says that they were fearful of doppelgangers because they challenged the idea of the individual self. So we see the word challenge. And challenge is to refuse to accept or agree that something is right or true. So an example we could say is, the opposition party decided to challenge the results of the election, citing irregularities in the voting process.
Challenge 这个动词呢，指的是挑战或是质疑。那我们可以挑战质疑什么东西呢？比如说一个点子、一个想法 ，challenge an idea， 或者是 challenge a point of view， 那就是去挑战一个人的观点。还有就是challenge a theory， 挑战一个理论。所以课文说到呢，人们也害怕 doppelgangers， 因为他们挑战了个人自我的观念。
Okay, so it seems like back then there was kind of more myths and legends about bad luck, and now moving into more present time, it tells us, by the 19th century, doppelgangers were also featured in new ideas about the mind.
到了19世纪啊 doppelgangers 也出现在关于心灵的新思想当中。
So maybe it means more than just the physical bad luck. Maybe there's a mental aspect to it. And continuing on, it says, Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Jung described the idea of a doppelganger as the shadow.
Oh, a shadow. So what does he mean by that?
Oh, well, good question.
Shadow.
Let's see what Carl Jung has to say. The article says, this is part of ourselves that we don't like and try to hide.
OK, 这边看到的这位精神分析学家，英文呢用的是 psychoanalyst 这一个名词哦。那补充一下，精神分析学家是我们课文用到的，那还有大家都知道的心理学家，英文会是 psychologist。那还有去看医生的精神科医师，那是 psychiatrist。这些字呢的字首都有 psych， 好，就是跟心理相关的。那瑞士精神分析学家卡尔荣格，他就将这个 doppelganger 的概念描述为 shadow 阴影，这是我们不喜欢并试图隐藏自我的一个部分。
And there's also another famous psychoanalyst that talks about it as well. It says Austrian psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud saw the doppelganger as an expression of one's unconscious. Ooh, okay. So there is more to it. If you see your doppelganger, it might not be a sign of danger. It could mean maybe something deeper.
那在这边呢，我们看到今天的 Language in Focus。今天的 Language in Focus 当中呢，我们要看到的是用 see、regard、think of、view、look on 或是 look upon 加上 a 后面再接出 as be。这个句型中以受词补语 be 来说明受词 a， 用来表示呢认为 a 是 b 或是将 a 视为 b。其中受词补语呢可以是名词或是形容词，所以课文当中说到奥地利的精神分析家，也就是弗洛伊德，他将 doppelganger 视为一个人内心的表达。那这边呢再给同学们一些这个 example sentences。第一个，你可以用 see 来说 I see you as my sister， 那就是我将你视为我的姐妹。再来一个，我们可以说 She thinks of her mother as her best companion， 她将她的母亲视为她最好的同伴。那除了主动语态之外呢，这个句型啊，被动语态也是很常见的。For example, Tim is regarded as the most hardworking student in the class。代表 Tim 他被认为是本班当中最认真的学生了。那另外呢 consider 后面也可以接上受词，再接上受词补语，那就会解释为是点点点为点点点，或是认为点点点。那其中呢受词补语常是名词或是形容词，前方可以加上 to be， 你也可以把它省略。For example, I always consider Gina to be a friend of mine。 我总是把 Gina 视为我的一个朋友。
And jumping back, so we think, okay, Freud is saying you see your doppelganger, or if you feel some kind of weird vibe maybe, it's actually an expression of your own self. So it's your own unconsciousness self telling you something. Maybe there's something going on deeper in your mind. Also, our article jumps back by saying meeting your doppelganger would be a battle between your conscious self and your hidden desires and disappointments. So there, everyone, we see the adjective conscious. It describes being aware of and perceiving one's thoughts, feelings, sensations, or surroundings, and being under the direct control of the mind. An example sentence using conscious, we could say, this study will check whether patients are making decisions with their conscious minds.
所以你用到 conscious 这个形容词就是能意识到的或是有意识的。那相反字就在字首加上 un 就可以了。unconscious 指的 就是呢昏迷的或是没有意识的。那在这边当名词使用，好，课文当中刚刚有出现，那指的就是你的潜意识。好了，那还有一个名词我们看到的是 desire. What does it mean?
All right, desire is a strong feeling of wanting something or wishing for something to happen. Easy sentence we could say is, his desire for success motivated him to work hard every day.
Desire 这边当名词使用，指的是欲望或是愿望。那当我们想要强烈的想要某个事物的时候，可以说 have a strong desire for something。强烈想要做某事的时候，可以说 have a strong desire to do something。那如果你是完全不想做某件事，你可以说I have no desire to do something。好，那另外呢，还看到一个名词是 disappointment， 指的就是失望。所以课文说到，遇见你的 doppelganger 将是一种在你的自我意识和隐藏的欲望与失望之间的对抗。
I mean, I really kind of think this is pretty fascinating how folklore or myths, which is more thought of as, myths and legends, evolved into, a psychological concepts by the late 19th century or early 19th century.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it?
It is, and exactly. And it brings us, everyone, to our For You chat. Our question today is, do you agree with Jung and Freud that your doppelganger or shadow is your own dark side? Why or why not? It's like, for me...
Yeah, let me think about it. Do I agree with it?
For me, I just see encountering a doppelganger or let's say call it a shadow as a random coincidence, right? It's like bumping into someone maybe who looks a lot like me. I don't necessarily think it has a deeper meaning or represents a dark side in me. But it's all about perspective. But for me, I don't kind of take that notion.
Okay, so let's say if I come back home and I tell you, hey, I met my doppelganger today.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that I saw my dark side?
Maybe. That's what some of these psychoanalysts are saying. Or it's just, a coincidence. You ran into somebody that looks somewhat similar.
Okay, so I guess our students can talk about this with their friends or family, right?
And their teachers, yeah. Ask around and see what you guys think. That's all the time we have for today. My name's Adam.
And I'm Elsie. 各位喜欢今天的主题吗？不要忘了按赞、订阅、分享我们的 YouTube channel， 还有 Facebook 哦。那我们就明天见了，拜拜。
Bye bye.
Vocabulary Review. Twin. Wendy and Cindy are twins and look so similar that it's hard to tell them apart. Suffer. Many teenagers suffer from pressure to succeed in several fields, which can cause stress and even health problems. Fearful. When Amber's son didn't answer her call, she was fearful that something bad had happened to him. Challenge. The judge challenged the man's story about the crime because there were parts which seemed unlikely. Conscious. The nature of the conscious mind and its connection to reality have been topics of debate for centuries. Desire. The leader's greatest desire was to guide her country toward a more peaceful future.
智慧小补帖
Doppelganger. Ghostly. Psychoanalyst. Disappointment.